That thing that just triggered you. It was completely neutral until your mind wrote the story about what it meant. Right now, somewhere in your day, your mind is turning neutral moments into mini dramas without you even noticing. This isn't about positive thinking or pretending things don't affect us. It's about catching your mind in the act of creating suffering where none needs to exist. Think about this. A colleague sends you a brief email that says, "We need to talk tomorrow." Just 12 words. Neutral information. But watch what happens next. Your mind becomes like a sports announcer calling every possible play. You're in trouble. They're unhappy with your work. That project you submitted had problems. Maybe they're restructuring the team. Your shoulders tense. Your stomach tightens. You spend the evening rehearsing defenses for conversations that haven't happened. Defending yourself against accusations that haven't been made. The email itself. Still just 12 neutral words. This is what we're exploring today, how the mind takes neutral situations and instantly assigns meaning, creating entire emotional experiences based on interpretations that often have nothing to do with reality. These shifts in perception, these moments when we see situations differently, are what's meant by miracles. Not supernatural events, but natural corrections that happen when love replaces fear in how we see things. Let's slow this down and watch it happen. Your colleague hits send on that email at 4:47 p.m. At 4:48, you open it. "We need to talk tomorrow." In the space of a heartbeat, less than a second, your mind has already written the story. Not consciously. Not deliberately. It happens so fast you don't even realize there was a gap between reading the words and feeling the fear. But there was a gap. There's always a gap. In that split second, your mind rifled through its files of every other time someone said, "We need to talk." It pulled up memories of criticism, of difficult conversations, of times you felt small or wrong. It took all of that past data and projected it onto these 12 words, creating a meaning that exists nowhere in the actual email. Your body responds to the story, not the facts. Your mood shifts based on the interpretation, not the reality. Your entire evening gets hijacked by a mental commentary that's calling plays for a game that hasn't even started yet. The sports announcer in your head is already deep into the third quarter of a match that might not even exist. And here's what's remarkable. You're so used to this pattern that you don't even question it. The story feels like truth. The interpretation feels like fact. The commentary feels like the game itself. But what if that voice, that constant sports announcer in your mind, what if it's optional? What if you could hear it doing its thing? Recognize it for what it is, and choose whether to believe its dramatic play-by-play. Try this with me for a moment. Think of the last time someone's tone of voice bothered you. Maybe they sounded dismissive, or impatient, or cold. Notice how quickly your mind assigned meaning to that tone. They don't respect you. They think you're wasting their time. They're angry about something you did. But what if they had a headache? What if they'd just gotten difficult news? What if their tone had absolutely nothing to do with you, and your mind's interpretation created a problem where none existed? This isn't about making excuses for people or pretending everything is fine. It's about recognizing that between what happens and what we think it means, there's a space. And in that space, we have a choice. We can let the mental sports announcer run wild with interpretations, or we can smile at its dramatic stories and experience what's actually happening. When you stop being the narrator of every experience, something shifts. Your automatic reactions start to dissolve. Instead of defending against attacks that aren't happening, you respond to what's actually there. And surprisingly often, what's actually there is much gentler than the story about it. Let's return to that email. We need to talk tomorrow. Without the mental commentary, what's left? Information about a future conversation. That's it. No threat, no judgment, no hidden meaning. Just information. From this place of neutrality, you might notice something interesting. Maybe you feel curious instead of afraid. Maybe you prepare differently, not rehearsing defenses but genuinely considering what might be helpful to discuss. Maybe you sleep better because you're not fighting imaginary battles all night. And when tomorrow comes and you have that conversation, you're actually present for it. You're not filtering everything through the story you created yesterday. You're able to hear what's really being said, respond to what's actually happening. The conversation might be about something completely unexpected, a new opportunity, a simple scheduling question, feedback that's actually helpful rather than critical. This is the shift, from experiencing your interpretation of life to experiencing life itself. It's surprisingly light. There's a quality of ease that comes when you're not constantly managing and defending against your own mental commentary. The miracle isn't in forcing yourself to view things positively. It's in finding that pause between event and interpretation, and discovering you have a choice about which narrator you're going to believe. The sports announcer will keep calling plays. That's what minds do. But you don't have to treat every call as truth. Start noticing this in small moments. Someone doesn't text back right away. Watch your mind create the story. A meeting gets rescheduled. Notice the meaning you assign. Your partner seems quiet. Observe how quickly you decide what it means. In each of these moments, you can ask yourself, what's actually happening here? Stripped of all my commentary. What are the bare facts before my mind dressed them up in meaning? This isn't about becoming passive or emotionless. It's about recognizing that most of our emotional reactions are responses to our own interpretations, not to what's actually occurring. When you view this clearly, you stop feeling like life is constantly attacking you. You stop needing to defend, to prove, to manage everyone's perception of you. There's something almost magical that happens when the mental commentary quiets down. Without all the analyzing and interpreting, you discover that you naturally know how to respond to most situations. Not from a place of defending or managing, but from a place of simple presence. Your colleague needs to talk. You'll find out what about when you get there. Someone's tone seems off. Maybe you ask if they're okay, or maybe you just give them space. The meeting got rescheduled. You adjust your calendar. No drama, no story, just a natural response to what is. This is what it means for miracles to be natural. When we're not caught up in fear-based interpretations, love-based responses arise spontaneously. We don't have to figure them out or force them. They're what's left when we stop adding our mental commentary to every experience. The relief of this is hard to overstate. Imagine moving through your day without the constant burden of interpreting every glance, every pause, every change of plan. Imagine responding to what's actually happening instead of to your story about what's happening. Imagine how much energy you'd have when you're not spending it all on managing meanings that exist only in your mind. This shift in perception, this is the miracle. Not changing the world, but changing the lens through which you view it. And when that lens is clear of all the old stories and projections and fears, what remains is surprisingly gentle, surprisingly workable, surprisingly kind. The sports announcer in your mind will keep calling plays. But now you know, you don't have to believe every word. You can smile at the dramatic commentary and choose to experience the actual game. And the actual game, freed from all that mental noise, is usually far less threatening than the play-by-play would have you believe. If you're finding value here, you're welcome to like the video and subscribe. And now, let's shift into a quiet guided meditation together. Let yourself settle into this moment. No need to arrange anything special, just let your body find its comfort. Allow your breath to move naturally, no need to control it. Just notice it coming and going on its own. In this quiet space, we can rest from all the interpreting and analyzing. There's nothing to figure out right now. Nothing to defend against, nothing to prepare for. If your mind brings up something from your day, that's okay. Notice if it starts to tell a story about what it meant. You don't need to stop the story, just notice it. Like you might notice clouds passing in the sky. Feel the relief of not having to believe every thought, not having to act on every interpretation. You can just be here, aware and easy. Notice any tension in your shoulders or jaw. These are often where we hold our defensive preparations. Let them soften. You're safe here. There's nothing to guard against. If the sports announcer in your mind starts calling plays, just smile gently. Let it do its thing while you rest in this quieter space beneath all the commentary. Feel how your body knows how to be when it's not bracing for imagined conflicts. Feel how your breath knows how to move when it's not tight with anticipated stress. This is what's always available beneath the mental noise. This ease, this natural peace. It doesn't require any special state. It's just what remains when we stop adding our fearful stories to this moment. Rest here for as long as feels good. When you're ready, let your eyes open if they were closed. Carry this recognition with you, that beneath all the mental commentary, there's always this quieter truth. The stories will return. The interpretations will start again. That's okay. Now you know where to find this space. Now you know it's always here, always available, always waiting beneath the noise. Thank you for spending this time in practice. A free digital ACIM resource is linked in the description if you'd like it. And if you wish, you're welcome to comment. I am grateful. Thank you for taking this time to explore with us today. That mental commentary that runs our days, now you've noticed it for what it is. Be gentle with yourself as you practice noticing the gap between what happens and the story about what it means. The freedom there is real, and it's yours.